Hello and welcome to Showreel. I'm your host, Nick Flynn. Today we'll be looking at American remakes of Australian TV shows. We'll have a look at some upcoming films, and we have the first in a series of acting workshops with Keanu Reeves. Sitting alongside me is my fabulous co-host, Courtney Becht.
Thanks, Nick. But first we are joined by our special guest, Susan MacGillicuddy. Susan is a professional screenwriter, having written popular TV series such as H2O, Just Add Water, Heartland and Heartbreak, to name a few. She is also a novelist, online graphic novelist, artist, director and lecturer at QUT. And she's here to talk to us about herself and her successful career. Thank you so much for joining us, Susan.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So you've been writing for Australian TV since the early 90s.
That's correct.
Can you tell us about your amazing career?
Well, I started out in radio, writing radio plays for the ABC and copy for commercial radio stations. But I'd always wanted to get into TV, and the way I did that was basically did fringe theatre for about 2 years. And then the right person saw my work and offered me some work writing in television. And I began, the first screenplay I actually wrote for TV was for Flying Doctors.
Wow.
Could you give us a brief idea of what you have written and where your writing career has taken you?
Gosh, goodness me. I've written a lot of Australian TV, all types, like soaps, comedy, children's. I've had a lot of fun writing children's TV, teen dramas and things like that. A lot of medical drama, because I love writing life and death situations, life and death drama. I've been lucky enough to develop a lot of TV series, create a couple of TV series like Raw FM. Look, it's taken me on a fantastic journey. I don't want to sound facetious or flippant, but it's been an amazing ride. I always wanted to be a writer, and when I was 7 years old I made the decision to be a writer, and so I'm really lucky I've got to do what I love, and now I'm teaching the next wave of writers.
And were there many challenges along the way?
Many challenges. All kinds of things. Broadcast challenges with creating new shows, what we could and couldn't say, trying to create something new and interesting and contemporary without being too controversial, but that always happens anyhow. The challenge of being an Australian writer for television in the 90s and then going to Hollywood and working over there when there was nobody in Australia writing for TV over there. Yeah. That was probably the biggest one.
You mentioned you wanted to be a writer from 7 years old.
Yep.
Was there anything that really inspired you from that age? Or?
Enid Blyton. Yes, I read The Magic Faraway Tree and said, that's it, I'm hooked.
I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, so, and for a brief time I deviated and wanted to be an astronaut, but then apparently you have to be good at math for that, so that was that down the drain. But yeah, so it was Enid Blyton, and then I'm a voracious reader, so just basically everything that I could get my hands on, yeah.
So you've won many awards for your creative work, and what are you most proud of?
The one that I'm the most proud of is the award I won for drawing in Hong Kong, where I grew up in the 60s, and Dr. Seuss presented me with that award and wrote.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was for a big Hong Kong-wide drawing competition, and he wrote to my favourite prize winner, Susan, and I've still got that. I would have brought it into the studio today, but it's raining. And I got to hang out with him for about a week, and they made a documentary, and he taught me how to draw.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So that's probably the best one. Yeah.
Can you explain your first big break?
When I was working in fringe theatre for La Mama in Melbourne, and this was in the late 80s, and we were all just writing one-act plays or monologues for actors, and the theatre itself had a leaky roof, so we did a benefit night, and the story editor for Flying Doctors was in the audience, and I'd written 4 monologues that were very hard-hitting about crime and all different types of people, and criminals basically just talking about their thoughts. Writers are always obsessed with the dark side of life, so that's what I was writing about. And he came up to me and said, look, you've got a really good ear for dialogue, would you like to work for television? And I said, yeah, you know, I've been trying to get in for years, but sending envelopes with urgent on the cover didn't seem to give me a lucky break. So, yeah, he said, I'll get back to you. And about 2 weeks later, I was sitting in my apartment in the bathtub trying to stay warm because I couldn't afford heating. This was Melbourne. -2 degrees in the middle of winter, and the phone rang and it was him, and he said start Monday, and I was writing my first episode of Flying Dogs.
Wow, so lucky.
Yeah, it was great. I was lucky to enter TV in that period when there was a lot of Australian drama being produced. comedy, drama, all kinds of stuff. It was a great time to begin as a young writer then. It's different now because of reality TV. But there was no reality TV then, so it was all drama, and Australian content laws were different.
Yeah. And how did you get into lecturing? Was that an easy transition from screenwriting?
Look, if you told me 5 years ago I'd be lecturing at uni, I would have asked you, you know, what antacid were you on in the 70s kind of thing. But I never thought that was going to happen, or it was an option that I was even going to ever consider. But someone from Afters rang me and asked me if I'd like to give a workshop on Australian writers in Hollywood and what the experience of writing in Hollywood was like. And so I did that, and then QUT called me up pretty soon after that. So yeah, it's great. I love it.
Oh,
That's great.
Good.
Yeah.
Just quickly, what's it like seeing your writing come to life on the screen?
Look, I can't even, it's ridiculous to say this because I'm a writer, I cannot tell you, I can't put it in words, the joy that you feel when you see written by and your name on the screen. And even better when you're sitting on the bus the next day and two old ladies are having a good, you know, giving a good critique of your work and saying, you know, who wrote that rubbish and what, you know, what are they on? And you think, that was me. I'm so proud. Yeah, it was great. It's always, that's the best thing about it. Like when people, you hear people talking about your work, or you see, you're just in an airport and you see an episode that you've written on TV, somewhere like that. It's very private, but it's great. I love it, yeah.
And is there anything that you haven't achieved that you want to?
So many things.
So many things?
So many things. Yeah, a million things. I'd take up the whole show talking about them, yeah. Watch this space. I mean, I'm 55 and I'm still going.
Yep.
Yeah, it's never, my career will never stop until I stop. And then probably, as my sister says, my hand will come out of the coffin and write, you know, and then they, or the end, or something like that. Yeah, so a lot. But the graphic novel, I want to get that finished and get it online and then turn that into a film.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And just quickly, is there any advice you would give to aspiring young writers?
Absolutely. It depends where your aspirations lie, if you want to work purely in Australia or you want to work in Hollywood, but these days you should consider yourself to have a global career. It's basically to keep writing, to spend as many hours as you can actually writing and reading other people's work. And as I always say to my students, watch screenplays, read the script, and never give up, never lose hope, no matter how many times you're rejected. I could wallpaper this studio with rejection slips.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that was fantastic. Thanks, guys. We'll be back after the break.
Palme d'Or winner, Blue is the Warmest Colour, is coming under fire for its voyeuristic and unconvincing portrayal of lesbian sex. The prettied up adaptation of a graphic novel is being condemned for having no gay girls on set, which led to the skewed depiction of the relationship. Chloe Grace Moritz has some pretty big shoes to fill when she takes on the title role in the remake of the 1976 Brian De Palma kinetic psycho scarefest, Carrie, expected around September. Have zombies jumped the shark? Well, not according to Warner Brothers, who are in pre-production for the live-action spoof Afterlife with Archie. It is the first time the comic book series has been portrayed on the big screen, with Zombie Betty and Zombie Veronica sure to make an appearance. It's Batman. No, it's Birdman. Michael Keaton has returned to the costumed arena with the coolest set of wings since Gabriel. The comedy is set almost entirely inside Broadway Theatre, is being produced by Fox Searchlight. In TV honours, The Sopranos has been deemed the best written drama of all time, according to the American Writers Guild. Cop classic The Wire made the top 10 with the prison shocker Oz, rounding out the list at number 101. In sadder news, Esther Williams, Busby Berkeley's water babe of the 1940s, has died at the age of 91. Williams once stated that her movie career was some consolation prize for missing out on the Olympic glory due to World War II. And finally, Thor vs. Doctor Who. Well, not quite, but we do have former Time Lord Christopher Eccleston as the leader of a group of alien elves going up against Australia's Chris Hemsworth in Thor: The Dark World. It's due for release in November. And that's the news.
Welcome back to Showreel. American networks have attempted many remakes of television programs from other countries, with varying degrees of success. While many have failed, some have been successful, such as The Office, which took the critically acclaimed 14 episodes of the British BBC series and turned them into 201 episodes over 9 hugely popular seasons on NBC, launching the careers of actors such as Steve Carell and Ed Helms.
While most American remakes come from the UK, America has recently been borrowing from Australia as well, with the failed localisation of Kath and Kim, the successful remake of Wilfred, and coming soon, a remake of the ABC series Rake.
So guys, why do you think American networks choose to adapt material from other countries?
I think basically because it's ideas. It works out to be population and ideas. So America has an enormous viewing population, something like 170 million.
Yep.
And our viewing population in Australia is much, much smaller, probably 10% of that, 5% of that. So if something is successful here, they just do the math and know that it could probably be more successful over there. And it's also just our way of looking at things is so different.
Yeah.
It's so unique.
Because sometimes it doesn't, like The Office, I think it's absolutely hilarious. But Kath and Kim, not so much.
Not so much. I think they just don't understand our humour. They find it very difficult. But it's how they adapt it. Like if you look at a show like Shameless, the British series Shameless, which was very gritty and raw, and it's transcribed really well to American television just because you've got the right star, Edward Macy, in it, and he's fantastic, and it's a great series about blue-collar life over there. So it just depends. If it hits the target, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But I knew Wilfred would work over there just because it's such a mad idea. And even though they did tone it down a bit for American TV, it still really works.
So it's definitely a case of just responding to Americanised versions rather than the original foreign versions, you'd say?
I guess, yeah. Look, and it's also just the thing of they just love original ideas, and Australians we have such a unique culture and unique storytelling abilities and the way we look at story and character that they look at it, they watch and see what we're doing and want it over there. It's wonderful.
So obviously Kath and Kim doesn't translate well in other countries for cultural reasons because you know, they do the whole bogan Australian thing and it didn't work over there.
No.
No. So why do you think it failed?
Well, I think partly it would have been the characters. They would have seen the characters as more negative than what they are. And also just our dialogue. Often when you work in Hollywood, they don't understand half of what we're saying. So I think the humour didn't translate to American dialogue.
Because it was sort of like Australian bogan changed into white trash, you know?
Yeah, exactly. So, and also just there's that great tongue-in-cheek element of Kath and Kim that American humour just doesn't have. It's more direct.
And they didn't really need much of a plot in the Australian series because, you know, they go shopping and it's hilarious. But
in Australia, I mean, also one of the things that works so well about Kath and Kim is the fact that characters like Kim are so delusional. She thinks she's fabulous and a hornbag and everything like that. And that just didn't translate to American humour.
No,
But it was a good, you know, top points to them for trying. I mean, you never know what's going to work until you actually do it. That's the whole thing about TV. You can't really tell until it's actually made if it's going to, and audiences look at it. But it's always a risk. But yeah.
And especially because Australians were so big on Kath and Kim and they were sort of like, you know, how dare they try to do that? And it had one episode here and then it got cancelled.
And everybody got furious.
Yeah.
Because we have such ownership of that show because it is such an icon, isn't it, now in Australian TV, Kath and Kim. So I think that's probably why iconically it didn't translate. Whereas Shameless does because the you know, blue collar aspect of it works really well over there,
Definitely. Any predictions for how Rake will fare?
I think Rake will probably do well because any legal drama or anything like that, it's a legal drama, isn't it, Rake? Yeah, because I haven't watched it. I've only read a bit about it. Sorry about that. But I think any legal drama, they love legal drama, so that'll work. I predict that'll do well. But you never know. You just never know what's going to be a hit and what isn't.
Yeah, that's the thing.
You never know.
And how would you say, because they tend to adapt a lot of British shows, do you reckon they might start to adapt more Australian shows now?
Wouldn't that be wonderful? It would be great because then it means our talent goes on to a bigger arena and more people get to see the work of writers who've created the shows and actors who were originally in them. And like in Wilfred, that actor is now on American TV, appealing to a much wider audience.
Yeah.
Still playing the same character, and it still really works.
Yeah. And he said, Jason Gang, I think his name is, yeah. He said that all the comments he got was, oh my God, it's going to be so crap. And after it was made, the main comment he got was, oh, I thought it was going to be really crap, but it was hilarious. So
yeah, so you just never know.
Yeah.
You never know. And that's why it's so important, especially with writers, to just follow your heart. If you feel something's going to be good, just go for it. Because you will write duds, that'll happen occasionally, but you never know what's going to be a success.
So is there any Australian films, TV series that you wouldn't like to be remade in America? Or any that you would?
I don't think they could do Flying Doctors because I don't think they have a Flying Doctors over there.
Yeah.
So I don't think that one, but I think basically anything can translate to any other culture if it's done well.
I don't know, maybe. I really like Mr. and Mrs. Murder, I'm just going to say that, but we don't really have much in the way of Australian comedy, I guess. So I guess that's...
Yeah. Puberty Blues, I'd like to see an American version of that.
Yeah, that'd be good. We have to take a break, but we'll be back soon with more Showreel.
What the hell is going on?
The first kaiju made land in San Francisco. The second attack hit Manila. And then the third one hit Cabo. And then we learned this was not going to stop.
Welcome back to Showreel. Pacific Rim is directed by Guillermo del Toro, who directed Pan's Labyrinth, and is a sci-fi action-packed film that follows an epic battle between alien monsters and human-controlled robots for planet Earth. The humans discover that these massive monsters have planted themselves under the ocean and have emerged present day to take over the planet. I think this one will be one to catch on the big screen, though there have been quite a few movies that centre around Earth being inhabited by an alien force. Pacific Rim stars Idris Elba and Charlie Day and is in cinemas on the 11th of July.
I have to believe that you were sent here for a reason. And even if it takes the rest of your life, you owe it to yourself to find out what that reason is.
How do you find someone who has spent a lifetime covering his tracks? For some, he was a guardian angel. For others, a ghost who never quite fit in.
You will give the people of Earth an ideal to strive towards. They will race behind you. They will stumble. They will fall. But in time, they will join you in the sun. In time, you will help them accomplish one.
Undoubtedly, Superman is one of the most loved comic book heroes of all time, and suitably, there has been an explosion of hype surrounding the character's upcoming film, Man of Steel. But the Superman franchise has always dwindled in comparison to its DC Universe counterpart, Batman, when it comes to infamous supervillains. Thankfully, the latest trailer titled Fate of Your Planet gives us a chilling introduction to General Zod, a Kryptonian warlord hell-bent on capturing our dear Mr. Kent. Despite Superman's almost unlimited powers, it seems he'll be pushed to the limits by an army of militarized aliens and a world all too willing to sacrifice him. Written by David S. Goyer and Christopher Nolan, and directed by Zack Snyder, Man of Steel is shaping up to be the blockbuster of the year. It will be hitting Australian screens June 27th.
Now, another doomsday plot, though slightly less serious. This Is the End is an action comedy that was directed by Seth Rogen and created by the same guys that brought us Superbad and Pineapple Express. Based in LA, the film follows 6 friends, Seth Rogen, Jonah Hill, Danny McBride, James Franco, and other celebrities such as Emma Watson, who play fictional versions of themselves. They battle to survive and keep their friendships while trying to stay sane in this humorous take on the apocalypse. This one looks pretty funny, and if you like Pineapple Express or Superbad, then this is definitely one to see. This Is the End is in cinemas on July 18th.
It's about your brother. Well, he's dead.
I have just traveled 10,000 miles to see the corpse of my firstborn son.
Only God Forgives sees director Nicholas Winding Refn and actor Ryan Gosling reunite after 2011's critically acclaimed Drive, which saw Refn pick up the Best Director award at Cannes. Their latest effort, however, has polarised critics for its graphic, ultra-violent storyline, with some screenings drawing boos from the audience. Only God Forgives follows drug smuggler Julian, Ryan Gosling, as he hunts through Thailand's neon-lit underworld for his brother's murderer. This looks to be an intriguing visual feast oozing with character subtext that typifies Nicholas Winding Refn's unique filmmaking approach. Along with Ryan Gosling, it also stars Kristen Scott Thomas as Julian's formidable mother and is set to be released nationally July 11th.
I get my own room. Oh, you really?
Let me try with pleasure hands.
Clap. I'm gonna get you now. I can hear you breathing.
You took your blindfold off. I win. I was in Christine and Nancy's room.
And for those of you who like the scarier paranormal stuff, The Conjuring is probably one to put on your to-see list. James Wan, who directed The Saws and Insidious, brings us this horror based on a true story about married demonologist Ed and Lorraine Warren, set back in the 1970s. The couples agree to help a woman who claims her secluded farmhouse is haunted. And from there, things begin to get a little more than just terrifying. Now, I was never a fan of the Saw movies, but I don't mind a bit of paranormal activity. The trailer was pretty scary, so I think I will go and see this one, just not alone. The film was released on the 18th of July as well and stars Vera Farmiga, Mackenzie Foy, Patrick Wilson and Ron Livingston.
From the director of legendary Korean film Oldboy, Chan-wook Park, comes the riveting psychological thriller Stoker. After the death of her father, India, a social teenage outcast, grows suspicious of an uncle she never knew existed who comes to live with her and her volatile mother. But instead of fearing this mysterious figure, she becomes increasingly infatuated with him. It stars Mia Wasikowska, Matthew Goode, and Australia's Nicole Kidman and Jackie Weaver, and is released nationally August 29th.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Susan. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you today.
Thanks for having me.
No worries.
Don't forget to follow us and check out the trailers on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. We'll be back at the same time next week.
We leave you now with an acting class from Mr. Keanu Reeves.
Hi, I'm teen heartthrob Keanu Reeves. Acting is difficult. Well, not really, look at all the idiots who can act. But it takes practice. You must learn to embrace the character in a way that makes it believable. Or you can just be hot. Being hot works too. But mainly that thing about character. You must create a personality that, while relatable, is more exciting than the viewer's life. If you are in a show like CSI, this isn't difficult, as generally your audience is retired.
Agent, what will we do?
It can't be, how could they do this?
Oh, the humanity.
I'm sorry, but the early bird special ends at 4 p.m.
Also, whether you like it or not, the writer knows best. You may think you know exactly what your character embodies, but you don't. You must always perform what is written.
But Agent Billionaire McHandsome, what if your wife finds out?
She can't. She's been dead for 10 years.
But I just saw her here at breakfast.
She is a zombie. A zombie, really? I mean, come on, how much were you smoking?
If you stray from the script, this may happen.
I can't believe Agent Billionaire McHandsome died in a plane crash.
Most of all, you must believe in your performance. This may sound stupid, but remember, this is acting.
I love you. I always have. Ever since the first day we met. And whenever I feel cold or like I'm alone, I just think of you and how lucky I am to have you. Without you, I'm nothing. Without you, I wouldn't be able to fight Middle Eastern vampire Nazis.
senga gogo yochi socho special Showreel. This woman says while she's never seen Godzilla on Ice, she's sure it's fantastic. Matt Clayton, 31 Digital.